Hey, it's Mr. Scoppa here with an update for November 13th, 2015. Wow, it's almost halfway through the month of November, which is amazing. I almost said school year, but it's not halfway through that, so take that statement out. But today is Friday the 13th. Bum, 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 bum. I know it's supposed to be unlucky, but really not. There's some historical ideas behind it, but it goes back to the Knights Templar and all sorts of things like that. But we won't get into the lore of the medieval time period at this point, or the Crusades or things like that. But I want to talk about a couple things. One, we have lots of things that are going on today. The kids are wrapping up our second unit for math, where we are really focusing on multiplication and division. We're going to kind of switch gears just a little bit, but we are still going to be focusing on those multiplication flashcards, and pretty soon I'm going to be sending home division flashcards too, so they can be practicing those. They need to make sure they have those facts down because it's something that is oh so important, and it's going to be spiraling back. Just so you know, the math for the next unit is going to look a little bit differently. We are looking into a different format, where this one is a setup from what's called Engage New York, which is a website that's put out by the state. So we're going to be focusing on geometry as far as how they're doing it. So the pages are going to look a little bit different, but the same standards for the Common Core are still going to be taught and everything. We're just looking to see how it goes through differently, and we're going to try it out, and so there'll be some things coming up with that. As a reminder, each night the kids have 20 minutes of reading on their reading log that looks like this. This is the one for next week. When you're going through and you're initialing these, just kind of remind your student that they should be reading all of these headings, going through and making sure that that's kind of like a checklist each day, so that way they know whether or not they're doing it correctly. I've been finding that a lot of people have been missing the directions here and not so much filling it out. This is something that kind of should be getting into very much so of a habit now at this point, because we're, roughly 12, 13 weeks in now. So, this is not a new concept, and so we want to make sure that we're doing this correctly and that idea. And I'm really starting to hold the kids to a lot more standards that are grade appropriate standards, and making sure, like for example on the morning work, the directions for the final copy was the paper needed to be neat with no erasure marks, and it shouldn't be folded or creased or have holes in it and things like that. And some of the kids were looking at me like, oh, what do you mean, why aren't you taking this? And I pointed right to it, and I pointed that out and said, you need to make sure that you're reading the directions and following all the directions completely. And that's something that's really important, that they are always rechecking those directions, and just remind them that they should be working on their neatest work all the time and things like that, because this is an important thing, and it's not just a fourth grade idea, but the idea of using their neatest handwriting. So if you notice that they're doing some work at home and they're just scribbling off, so please encourage them to go back and fix it and make sure that it's easily read and presentable and things like that. It's a very important thing. With the wordly wise, sometimes they kind of really scribble things down and try and just get it done. But as a reminder that the first section is always putting words together for a sentence, and so you might want to check in with them about the idea of capital letters and periods at the end and things like that. And with that last section, the section E of every lesson, it's the reading comprehension section. You can, if you could, please remind them that they should be underlining the passage and numbering where their answers are coming from. Their answers should be written in complete sentences. You and I probably know it as restating the sentences at the beginning. They know it as TTQA, turning the question around and using some of the same words from the question to help answer it. And then their wordly wise words should be circled in there as well, and capital letters and periods. These are our common writing expectations that we're looking for across the grade levels, and it is something that is in third grade is considered to be no excuse, which means that they should be doing it 100% of the time, especially with spelling right their words. When they're there and they're just copying it, they should be spelling it correctly. So just a little bit of ELA kind of talk in there, and a little bit about reading logs and where we're going for math. So things are going to be getting busy. We've got about a week and a half left here until the Great Turkey Day feast comes up. So we do still have work going on all the way through. So something to keep in mind. And with that, we'll see you next week.